Agriculture is losing the battle against weeds. Weeds are rapidly becoming resistant to more and more chemistries, rendering herbicides ineffective. As well, consumers are increasingly concerned about chemical residues in their food and the environmental harm that pesticides may cause. This is the X-Steam-inator, a new technology for non-chemical weed control. The X-Steam-inator uses high-temperature steam to kill weeds. Steam has long been used in a limited way for vegetation and pathogen control, but existing systems use pressurized boilers. The X-Steam-inator is different, using an onboard generator and patented electrical system to generate high-temperature steam on demand.
We're only heating up a few ounces a second, where a boiler heats up 50 to 100 gallons before they even start.
Producing steam on demand improves efficiency. Constant flow pumps from the heat exchangers allow even distribution of the steam to the booms. The X-Steam-inator will be safer than a pressurized boiler and won't require special accreditation to operate. Early prototypes of the X-Steam-inator showed the ability of high-temperature steam to control vegetative growth with results obvious in hours.
We thought, it being, farmers in Western Canada, we were going to have a 60-footer or something that could go 3 or 4 mile an hour, but we know now, and that can still happen, but we know that we're going to start small and work up to that. So we've did a lot of work with vegetable growers and row crops, and that's the high value market. We're pretty sure we can do that.
Welcome to Yuma, Arizona, a desert where high value crops are grown with irrigation water flowing from the Colorado River. Both flood and sprinkler systems are employed. The University of Arizona is home to the Yuma Agricultural Center, where researcher Mark Siemens is working on alternate weed control systems. On this romaine lettuce crop, mechanical weeding occurred after crop emergence. But weeding in the seed row between the lettuce plants had to be done by hand.
So the real challenge we have in lettuce crop production is controlling weeds. After crop emergence, we just don't have any effective herbicides to control broadleaf weeds.
With public and private research funding, Mark Siemens in Arizona and Stephen Fenimore at the University of California, Davis are working with steam injection into the soil to kill weed seeds and soil-borne pathogens prior to seeding. This steam treatment is concentrated on the rows where the crop will be planted.
Our weed control is easily better than 85%. In some cases, we've seen 100% control. So on average, I would say if you're doing it correctly, better than 95% control. I think in that scenario, I think we could almost eliminate the necessity of a hand weeding operation.
Hand weeding is hard, hot work. Even at Yuma, with its proximity to Mexico, labor is difficult to access. The cost for hand weeding is about $300 an acre. Robotic weeders are in various stages of development, but they will come with high price tags. Stephen Fenimore at the University of California, Davis believes steam has a valuable role to play.
Because the automated weeders cannot get really close to the crop. Still, the only way to remove a weed that's close to the crop is by hand. And what you do with steam, at least for weed control, is you can control all the weeds in the proximity where the crop is planted.
And the weed control with steam will last for several weeks or even months. The other huge benefit with high-temperature steam over robotic weeders is that steam can pasteurize the soil a couple inches deep, killing pathogens while leaving beneficial bacteria largely unaffected.
What we have learned is that when you heat soil up, it cools rather slowly, except on the surface. So by heating the soil up to 70, 75 C, it will stay warm enough, hot enough, long enough to kill the pests.
When diseases like Pythium and Sclerotinia are present, substantial yield increases have been measured in crops like lettuce and carrots. In a recent scientific paper published by Fenimore, Siemens, and colleagues, the gross revenue for steam-treated lettuce was more than $3,000 per hectare higher than in the no-steam control. Across the United States and Canada, more than 1 million acres of commercial vegetable crops are grown each year. From Arizona and California, let's move north to Outlook, Saskatchewan. Not counting potatoes, Spring Creek Market is the province's largest vegetable farm. This is a tillage operation to control weeds between vegetable rows.
So in our vegetable operation, we use everything from chemical controls, mechanical controls, and then also hand hoeing and hand labor to get the weeds out of our crops.
The hand labor, is that hard to come by or expensive?
It's hard to come by. It's a lot to ask of people. It's hard work. It's long hours, and it's real expensive. Yeah, it's our single biggest expense through the spring. We spend about $250, $300 an acre on hand hoeing. And that's just dependent on weed growth.
Here, X-Steam-inator inventor Ron Gleim and engineer Dan Hopper are consulting with Daniel Erlandson as they trial pre-seed weed control in vegetable seed beds.
My dream for it, honestly, is if we could create a sterile seed bed that we can transplant our vegetables into and put our small seeds into and let them have a jump start, get ahead of the weeds as much as possible. And then if we could come up secondarily with a between row application to help kill our cover crop and the weeds that grow between the rows, that'd also be really good.
Another use for the X-Steam-inator is desiccating potatoes prior to harvest. Typically, potatoes are sprayed with a desiccant called Diquat, trade name Reglone, prior to harvest. The riper potatoes on the left have been sprayed with Diquat. Usually at least 2 applications with high water volumes are necessary. If the potato plants are large, they are sometimes flailed before Diquat is applied. This flail is removing all of the plant except for about a foot of stems. Ryan Miner grows both table and seed potatoes near Riverhurst, Saskatchewan.
So you need to kill the plant so that the skin will set. You dig a plant right now, the skin's too soft to harvest. It'll go to the store all tore up. So you gotta kill it as fast as you can so that it starts skin set.
With its high-temperature steam, the X-Steam-inator can terminate potato plants and set the skin on the underground tubers without the use of a chemical. Here's how the potatoes look a couple days after the X-Steam-inator. A little more than a week after steam application, both flailed potatoes and standing potatoes show no sign of green growth. While the X-Steam-inator isn't yet in commercial production, farmer and manufacturer feedback has been valuable. Here's the X-Steam-inator at the Ag in Motion outdoor trade show northwest of Saskatoon. Longtime equipment developer and marketer Laird McLeod is excited by the prospect of having an alternative to herbicides such as glyphosate.
When we think about the advances that have been made in agriculture in the last 35 to 40 years, they've been tremendous. I don't know that anything changes the footprint and the game for food producers like X-Steam-inator does.
Assistance to develop the X-Steam-inator is coming from numerous sources. The researchers in Arizona and California are valuable contacts. Field work with the X-Steam-inator will continue in the U.S. in winter months. Honeybee Manufacturing, based at Frontier, Saskatchewan, known for its combine headers, is helping with equipment design and will partner with manufacturing. And PAMI, the Prairie Agricultural Machinery Institute, has been contracted to help better understand steam flow and energy efficiencies. Beyond weed and pathogen control in vegetables and desiccation of potatoes, the sky is the limit for X-Steam-inator applications. For instance, orchards, such as this lemon farm near Yuma, want to move away from chemical weed control. Going from a great concept to a commercial product requires a lot of work, but the X-Steam-inator is well on its way. In the fight against weeds, agriculture needs to reduce tillage, reduce hand weeding, and reduce herbicides with a safe, sustainable alternative. The X-Steam-inator promises to be a worldwide food production game changer.